He finally said it. The one thing Meghan Markle never wanted the world to hear. After years of silence, years of polished interviews, and perfectly staged appearances, Prince Harry's mask slipped. And this time, there was no script, no media handler, no palace aide to save the moment. Just him, raw, unfiltered, and breaking the internet with 9 haunting words.
A royal expert has revealed why Prince William was correct to warn Prince Harry about his relationship with Meghan Markle.
So, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK, of course I do. And I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
Freedom can look a lot like a cage. That was all it took. Those words, dropped quietly during what was supposed to be a feel-good wellness summit in California, hit harder than any royal headline ever could. The event had started like any other. Harry smiling, relaxed, talking about men's mental health, something he's always been passionate about. But then came the question no one expected. Do you ever feel like you lost yourself in love? The audience went silent. Cameras zoomed in, and for a moment, Harry's charm faded. He hesitated, staring at the floor before answering. Yeah, there was a time I didn't recognize the man in the mirror anymore. I thought I was finding freedom. But sometimes, freedom can look a lot like a cage. The room froze. No laughter, no applause, just shock. Within hours, the clip exploded online. Millions of views, thousands of comments, royal experts calling it a confession, former aides whispering, he's finally admitting regret. Even longtime fans couldn't believe it, because for years, Harry's story had been about escape, leaving the palace, choosing love, reclaiming his life. But that one sentence changed everything. Suddenly, it didn't sound like a man who'd escaped. It sounded like a man realizing he'd just built a different kind of prison, one made of luxury, cameras, and control. And when those words reached Montecito, sources say Meghan's reaction was instant, furious, because she knew what everyone else did too. This wasn't just a slip, it was a truth bomb. But what really happened after that moment, the argument, the panic, and the unraveling behind closed doors, is where the story truly begins. The moment Harry's clip hit the internet, it was chaos. Within minutes, #FreedomLikeACage was trending across social media. TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns, and Twitter threads flooded timelines. Everyone had an opinion. Some said it was the bravest thing he's ever done. Others said it was a cry for help. But one thing was clear. Harry had broken the royal silence in a way no one saw coming. Psychologists weighed in, calling it a subconscious admission of regret. Royal experts called it the closest he's ever come to saying he's unhappy. And fans, they couldn't stop dissecting every word, every pause, every flicker in his expression, because that wasn't a rehearsed line. It was the truth slipping out. Across the Atlantic, the British tabloids pounced like wolves. Headlines screamed, "Prince Harry's confession sends shockwaves through Montecito. Freedom or regret." Harry's words hint at marital rift. Every outlet wanted a piece of it. And inside their California mansion, Meghan Markle was scrambling to stop the storm. Sources close to the couple say her team immediately went into overdrive. PR advisors, publicists, even summit organizers were contacted. The goal was simple: contain the damage. But it was already too late. The internet doesn't forget. People weren't buying the usual spin this time. No taken out of context story could undo that clip, because everyone had seen his face, that small, broken smile, and the weight behind his words. And as the dust began to settle, something even more telling happened. Harry stayed quiet. No follow-up statement, no clarifications, no denial, just silence. And that silence said everything. Behind the scenes, insiders claim Meghan confronted him almost immediately, accusing him of being careless and feeding the tabloids. But Harry didn't back down. Not this time. For the first time in years, the prince who always defended, always apologized, simply said nothing. And that silence, that refusal to play along, was louder than any statement could ever be. But this was just the beginning, because what came next would shake the walls of their Montecito home and the image they'd spent years building. The moment Harry walked through the doors of their Montecito mansion, the air was thick. Meghan was waiting, phone in hand, eyes cold. The clip had already gone viral and her team was in chaos. She didn't even wait for him to take off his jacket. "You made me look manipulative," she reportedly snapped. "Do you realize what you've done?" But this time, Harry didn't flinch. For years, he'd been the calm one, the peacekeeper, the man who always said sorry just to keep things steady. But now, he was done pretending. "I didn't ruin anything," he told her quietly. "I just told the truth." Those 6 words changed everything. The argument that followed was explosive. Voices echoed through the marble halls, staff reportedly retreating to other rooms. Meghan accused him of betraying their brand, of undoing everything they'd built together. She said he was feeding the tabloids, painting her as the villain. Harry didn't shout back. He just stood there, quiet, calm, exhausted. It wasn't anger driving him anymore. It was clarity. For the first time, he seemed to see what everyone else had been seeing for years. The woman he once defended at all costs wasn't protecting him. She was managing him. Meanwhile, outside those walls, the world was watching. Every headline, every reaction, every late-night joke chipped away at the image they'd built. The power couple narrative was crumbling. Meghan's PR team rushed to spin the story. Articles popped up within hours. Harry misunderstood. Taken out of context, the prince's words about growth, not regret. But it didn't stick. The internet had already decided what it believed. Clips of Harry's quiet confession were being slowed down, analyzed, and reposted on every platform imaginable. The tone of sympathy shifted. People weren't mocking him anymore. They were worried for him. He looks broken. He sounds trapped. He's not free. He's controlled. And Meghan knew it. Every time she refreshed her feed, the comments multiplied. The fairy tale was slipping away. The spotlight she'd once used to her advantage was now exposing every crack. But this wasn't just a PR problem anymore. It was personal. Because while the internet debated, Harry began to pull away. He stopped joining joint interviews. He skipped certain appearances. Even at home, staff noticed he was quieter, more distant. He was there, but not there. And for Meghan, who'd spent years building an empire around their shared image, that was terrifying. Because once Harry stopped playing along, the story, their story, stopped being hers to control. In the weeks that followed, something shifted inside Prince Harry. He wasn't angry, he wasn't rebellious, he was just gone. Friends who used to get his calls every few days suddenly heard nothing. One of his old army buddies told reporters, he used to be the guy cracking jokes and buying the next round. Now, he just stares into his drink. It's like he's somewhere else entirely. Harry had become a ghost in his own home. Behind Montecito's high walls, Meghan was in full panic mode. Meetings with PR advisors stretched late into the night. Phone calls, interviews, press leaks, anything to spin the narrative back in her favor. Her strategy was clear. If she couldn't silence the truth, she'd smother it with noise. Exclusive magazine stories started popping up. Harry taken out of context, couple stronger than ever. Misunderstood, Prince speaks from the heart. But the internet didn't buy it, not this time. Comments flooded every post she made. He doesn't look happy. She's trying to control the story again. Freedom? He looks trapped. Every new damage control attempt only made the situation worse. According to insiders, Meghan confronted Harry again. This time, not in anger but in fear. She told him, "You're destroying everything we built." But Harry didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply looked at her and said, "Maybe that's the point." It was the quietest rebellion imaginable, and yet it was the loudest message he'd ever sent. He began distancing himself from the Hollywood circle that had once defined their life. Declining invitations, skipping premieres, ignoring calls from producers who used to beg for appearances. Even friends noticed he'd stopped saying we. He said I, and that small shift, that single letter, meant everything. While Meghan tried to rebuild the empire, Harry was busy rebuilding himself. He started spending more time outdoors, visiting local charities without fanfare, showing up at veteran gatherings alone. No cameras, no statements. Just him, stripped of the PR gloss, standing among people who knew him before the chaos. At one private event, a witness recalled Harry saying something that sent chills through the room. "You don't realize how lost you are until someone takes the compass away." Everyone knew who he meant. Back at home, Meghan was losing control of both the narrative and her husband. Her worst fear wasn't the media or the public turning on her. It was Harry realizing he didn't need her approval to speak anymore. And that realization, it was already happening. For months, the silence between them grew heavier. Meghan filled it with noise, calls, PR meetings, new ideas for rebranding. But Harry, he filled it with distance. He stopped joining her on photo ops. He skipped joint events. Even in public, when they did appear together, something was different. He wasn't playing along anymore. The hand-holding, the smiles, the perfectly staged moments, gone. Behind that quiet, though, something was happening. Something Meghan didn't see coming. Whispers started to spread through the royal reporting circles that Harry had been working on a secret project. Something deeply personal. Something he hadn't shared with Meghan. At first, no one believed it. Harry and Meghan did everything together. Every appearance, every brand deal, every interview. But this time was different. Sources close to him said it wasn't another documentary or joint book. It wasn't even about their life together. This time, it was about him, his story, his voice, his truth. Apparently, Harry had started writing again, privately. Some called it a memoir, others said it was more like a journal or manuscript. But those who'd seen snippets described it as raw, emotional, and painfully honest. No palace filters, no PR edits, no Meghan-approved language, just Harry, stripped of the royal titles and the Hollywood polish. In it, he reportedly opened up about what it means to lose your sense of self in love, to confuse devotion with control, to realize too late that freedom and isolation can look almost the same. And when Meghan found out, she was livid. According to one insider, she confronted him late one night after discovering notes from the project. "Why would you hide this from me?" she asked. "You're making me look like the problem." Harry's response was calm, but it hit hard. "It's not about you." That single sentence said everything. Because for the first time in years, Harry wasn't trying to protect anyone. He wasn't defending the brand, the marriage, or the image. He was defending himself. That's what this project represented. A quiet rebellion, a moment of independence in a life that had been carefully managed from every angle. And Meghan knew it. People close to her said she spiraled when she realized she couldn't control the narrative this time. This wasn't a joint venture she could edit or redirect. It was Harry's story, and Harry's alone. He wasn't seeking sympathy, he wasn't seeking attention, he was seeking truth. Because after years of being told who to be, by the palace, by the press, by the woman who claimed to free him, Harry was finally doing something for himself. And for Meghan, that was the most dangerous thing of all. Because once he started speaking for himself, she couldn't speak for him anymore. What started as whispers soon became headlines. Reports of Harry's secret project spread across tabloids and talk shows, each claiming to know what it was about. A tell-all, a private diary, maybe even a documentary without Meghan's involvement. No one knew for sure. But one thing was clear. This time Harry wasn't asking for permission, and that terrified her. For years, Meghan had built their image around being unbreakable. The couple who left the monarchy together, who fought the press together, who spoke as one. But now, that unity was cracking in real time. The Netflix deals were drying up. Spotify had already walked away. The media coverage had turned cold. Even Hollywood, the world Meghan thought she'd conquered, was quietly backing off. Invitations to red carpet events stopped coming. Brand collaborations were put on hold. It was like the golden couple had lost their shine overnight. Behind closed doors, Meghan was desperate to fix it. She started planning what insiders called her reintroduction, a glossy magazine feature that would set the record straight. The plan was simple: remind the world who she was before the criticism. Poised, elegant, misunderstood. But when the article dropped, it flopped. No buzz, no headlines. Just silence. The sympathy that once shielded her was gone. People weren't seeing her as the victim anymore. They were seeing her as the problem. And Harry's quietness didn't help. He wasn't defending her this time. No Instagram posts, no interviews, no statements of support, just distance. Friends say he'd stopped using we. It was I now. I'm working on something. I've been thinking a lot lately. I need space. Those words, small, simple, were devastating to Meghan. Because it meant the image she'd spent years crafting, the one that revolved around their shared story, was slipping out of her control. The public began to notice the shift too. Photos showed Harry attending charity events alone, dressed simply, smiling softly. No entourage, no cameras, just him, the version of himself people had missed. And that's when the internet turned. Posts began surfacing with captions like, "He looks at peace again. This is the Harry we remember. She's losing her hold on him." Each comment was another crack in the illusion. The fairy tale marriage that once symbolized defiance now looked like quiet defeat. According to insiders, Meghan was breaking down behind the scenes. One staff member overheard her crying late one night, saying, "I gave up everything for him. Everything. And now he's making me look like the villain." But the truth is, Harry wasn't trying to destroy her. He was just trying to find himself again. The man he used to be before the chaos, before the cameras, before H&M became a brand. Because somewhere between love and loyalty, between rebellion and regret, Harry realized something heartbreaking. He hadn't escaped the cage. He'd just built a new one. And now, he was finally ready to walk out. It didn't end with a fight. No public breakup, no fiery statement, no dramatic headline. It ended with silence, the kind that says more than any words ever could. Harry simply stopped showing up, not just for events or appearances, but for her. Friends noticed it first. He stopped sitting beside Meghan during interviews. He stopped holding her hand in photos. Even his tone changed. Softer, calmer, detached. It was as if the man who once defended her with fire now saw no reason to defend at all. And that's what broke her. For Meghan, control was safety. The ability to shape every headline, every caption, every rumor. But now, no matter what she said or posted, people weren't listening anymore because the world had already made up its mind. This wasn't a story about rebellion or freedom anymore. It was about regret. Harry's quiet words at the Wellness Summit, "Freedom can look a lot like a cage," had become prophecy. The cage wasn't the palace. It wasn't the press. It was the life they'd built in Montecito. Beautiful, expensive, but suffocating. And for the first time in years, Harry wanted out. Those closest to him said he started spending long hours alone, writing, meditating, or just sitting outside, watching the California sky fade into night. He didn't need noise anymore. He needed peace. When asked how he was doing, one of his old friends said, "He looks lighter. Sad, yes, but free." Meanwhile, Meghan was still fighting ghosts, trying to hold together an image that no longer existed. PR teams rotated in and out, but the results were always the same. Public interest was gone. Sympathy had turned to skepticism, and Harry's silence only made it louder. He didn't need to expose anyone. He didn't need to name names. The truth was already out there, in his voice, in his eyes, in every moment he chose not to perform. Because sometimes freedom doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes quietly. When you finally stop explaining yourself, that's the ending nobody saw coming. Not a royal scandal, not a tabloid war, just a man reclaiming his story piece by piece, word by word. And maybe that's the real twist. After years of running from the palace, from the press, from himself, Harry finally found what he was looking for. Not fame, not revenge, not even forgiveness. Just peace. Because the truth is, you can lose your crown, your country, and even your marriage, and still come out freer than you've ever been. And for Meghan Markle, who once believed she could control the narrative, that might just be the most painful truth of all.